Subscribe to this podcast to get exclusive access to the after show Shooting the Breeze.
Convictions from the Lord about the What It Means to Be Human project, a blog post written and read by Anne Bernard. 70 years ago, C.S. Lewis wrote Mere Christianity. About 12 years ago, a friend gave me a copy of the book once I told him I had recently become a born-again Christian. I appreciate the gift, but never read it. Then on Friday, God compelled me to go digging into my boxes to find the book and finally read it. As I read Mere Christianity, I was convicted and was given much needed and prayed for guidance. I'm torn on how to write this so that it makes sense to most people, but the reality is I couldn't have written this and would have barely understood it at the start of my Christian walk, and absolutely not at all prior to being born again. So while there's a limited audience for this message, and I could have just easily deleted all prior posts and update all content related to the What It Means to Be Human project without most people noticing or caring, this is part of my story, and I'm a story creator and a storyteller. And God is asking me for public admission. Ever since my first tech startup, Why Go Solo, I've been blogging to capture the entrepreneurial journey as it unfolds. Doing so means having to often admit mistakes, wrong decision, and bad choices. Yet, it's at the core and root of my obsession with storytelling, with being open, honest, and vulnerable. It's who I am. One, always wanted to make sense and understand things as they happen. Two, using my imagination and creativity to imagine what the future holds. I see a different future. First conviction. I've said many times in the last year, when I close my eyes, I can see a different future. I would then go on to describe a future where society is completely different, where human beings have evolved beyond our biases, patterns, weaknesses, and flaws. I had no problems believing my ability to see such a future was based on my gift for vision, being an entrepreneur, and my imagination. Chapter 10 of Mere Christianity is titled Hope. It's all of 4 pages. It's introduced this way. Hope is one of the theological virtues. This means that a continual looking forward to the eternal world is not, as some modern people think, a form of escapism or wishful thinking, but one of the things a Christian is meant to do. Here's the first conviction from God that came from reading the chapter titled Hope. And when you close your eyes, you are blessed with being able to see aspects of heaven. There's really no way of explaining what insanely humbling and embarrassing conviction that is to receive. What kind of Christian takes credit for being able to, quote, imagine a better world and doesn't realize or connect it to the world that God has planned for us since the conception of the world? I'll explain how this delusion came about, but hang in there, it gets worse. The solution is technology. The second conviction. The What It Means to Be Human project is based on the premise that human beings are creating more problems than what we're solving, and it's not sustainable. At the core of every problem is us, human beings. And unless we evolve, we're basically doomed. However, humans have shown that we can't do it being evolve. We can't do it alone. The blatantly obvious Christian messaging was completely lost on me because my focus wasn't on God. It was on science and technology. Therefore, the answer to the problem was equally based on those. I came up with the conclusion we need to educate artificial intelligence, AI, on what it means to be human so that AI can be leveraged to evolve us. The word blasphemy came through loud and clear in my conviction that my conclusion is completely wrong. How did you change and grow? The third conviction. I have been obsessed with personal development and technology since I can remember. I have fully believed that technology, in conjunction with the latest research and application of social sciences, would yield massive change and a huge impact on society. Then God asked me in my conviction a very simple question. Anne, how has the permanent and lasting change in your life come about? The answer was also simple. You. You being Him, God. Absolutely zero real, true, and lasting healing, growth, or change has taken place in my life outside of God. My initial pursuit for personal growth came from God. It came from my experience of being locked in a bathroom with a spider and hearing His voice. You can be trapped by your fears or freed by facing them. Here's the thing. God gave me the lesson and He set me on my way to face my fears through Him. God was the reason I had the ability to face my biggest fear at the time, the spider. However, I abandoned God and didn't make Him part of the process. So instead of ending up with what God had planned for me from that revelation, I ended up with a massive ego and consumed with pride, both of which God used to lead me to my knees and back to Him. Then He had to work in me to teach me about humility and remove my deep self-reliance. Let me just say that's been incredibly painful at times. The original ministry God had for me was based on what He had originally tried to teach me about facing our fears through our reliance on Him. I failed to birth that ministry because I failed to step in the fire with God. A quick look at my walk of faith and relationship with God. How does a Christian come up with such an erroneously wrong answer/conclusion? Let's just say there's an extremely large difference between being a Christian that keeps God as an external resource and guide to a Christian that is fully reliant on God and is filled with the Spirit. The former comes up with the original concept. The latter is convicted by the Lord to set it right. I grew up Catholic. I was baptized as a baby and went through all the Catholic sacraments up to my confirmation. However, I never developed an understanding of the Christian faith or a relationship with God in the process. So, after my confirmation, I pretty much left the church and came up with my own belief system. In my mid-30s, after major failures and being filled with anger, darkness, and constant battles with depression, I got down on my knees and gave my life to God. This time, of my own accord and free will. I clearly couldn't do life on my own. God rapidly began working in my life and blessing me. I still face some tough times and challenges, but they were all made easier with God, and all led to greater rewards, joy, and growth than what I had ever experienced before. After about 7 amazing years, I felt called to start a ministry. I initiated the launch of what I called a Brave Action Ministry, but soon found myself facing new challenges and struggles. I didn't realize then that I was entering into a time of testing and growth. God was bringing me into the fire for me to reach the next level in my walk of faith and relationship with Him. To be entrusted with the ministry, God was looking to start working through me. I didn't understand that, so I tapped out. Pretty quickly, actually. And now I see just how fragile my faith and relationship with God was at that time. I didn't know He would be with me through the fire and that it was necessary for me. Nope. Instead, I was the type of Christian who was all about God as long as He made things easier and better. I quickly found myself having a crisis of faith and stepping out of His will. It was a 5-year detour of backsliding and once again living a life full of sin and disobedience. While technically still a Christian, I rarely spent time in His Word or prayed, and I was pretty much solely relying on my own strength again. Then one day, I was in a car accident. I walked away from that accident realizing God was definitely looking over me and keeping me safe. It was a miracle no one was hurt because I hit someone who cut me off going 100 miles per hour in an unrestricted zone on the German Autobahn. And both vehicles crossed 2 lanes of traffic, not hitting any other vehicles. No one was injured. at all. The accident was the catalyst for making my way back to God. Shortly after, he allowed me to reclaim the title of entrepreneur. He had asked me to give up my entrepreneurial identity and dreams back when I first gave my life to him. I happily embraced my calling as an entrepreneur and proceeded to rebuild my relationship with God, the only way I knew how, by having him in my life as a guide and resource. That went on for about 3 years, all the way until the start of 2022. In those 3 years as an entrepreneur, I launched the 365 First Challenge, Next Level First Coaching, First Time Storytelling, and the What It Means to Be Human project. My concept and ideas kept evolving, making more sense and solidifying towards what I thought was it, my billion-dollar idea. I didn't pray a whole lot about any of it, nor turn any of it to him or sought his counsel. It, my billion-dollar idea. I didn't pray a whole lot about any of it, nor turn any of it to him or sought his counsel. At the start of 2022, after almost 3 years of evolving my concept and ideas, but encountering zero progress or success, other than accomplishing things on my own strength, a familiar but dreaded thing started coming back: depression and suicidal thoughts. I once more became consumed with thoughts of blowing my head off. I was tormented and thought maybe I was simply not meant to be an entrepreneur. I was not cut out for it. If God had allowed me to reclaim the title entrepreneur, how could he allow the darkness to return? Was I not doing this with him this time? I began exploring the answer to that last question. God had removed the darkness before, so I turned to him once more. Turned out, that fire I had run away from 5 years earlier, it was still awaiting me. Once I realized I was in it, I knew I had to go through it. I would never be the entrepreneur I desired to be without going through the fire. I would never build a company, lead a team, or make the real impact and difference I ache for in the world without going through this fire. I'm not entirely sure I'm quite out of the fire yet. However, what I know is that in the last few months, I have grown as a Christian by leaps and bounds. God is no longer an external resource. He is in me. I didn't just die to the things he wanted removed from my life. I welcomed him to have full possession of who I am. I want his spirit to work through me. One of the best ways I know his presence is through better understanding, comprehending, and applying his word. Reading the Bible is a completely new experience and easier than ever before. Now that he's taken his rightful place, he's shown me the errors of my ways in what I've been trying to create, and he will undoubtedly show me the right way. The ministry of storytelling. God never gives up. God keeps his promises. Even when I turned from him, he kept etching lessons and working on my heart. My heart never closed to him, and he has gifted me a new message and ministry through storytelling. I will share the messaging and clarity God is revealing in the next post. The What It Means to Be Human project will forge on. I'm not being asked to throw out the baby with the bathwater. I'm being asked to draw a new bath.
Well, I have just been blessed with so many people who are requesting to be on the show, and I'm impressed with how many people want to share their testimonies or what they're doing for the Lord right now. If I haven't got back to you, I promise I will get back to you. I look forward to speaking with each of you and interviewing you, and keep tuning into the show. There's lots of new people that are coming on here, and if you're considering wanting to come on the show, just shoot me an email at tpeters745@gmail.com, and I will get back to you.